born out of a discussion offline, specifically on, I think it was Shedeur, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shedeur Sanders. Can Colorado win enough, or maybe it was in the show, an instant reaction. Can Colorado win enough that Shedeur Sanders could win a Heisman Trophy? Okay, so who can win a Heisman Trophy? Like, Danny, if you were to start like going down the board, or whether like getting the circle together, how many players, or who are the players that come to mind in terms of you think that they've got a team around them, the individual excellence to be named the most outstanding player in college football at the end of the season?
So I think there's a pretty clear-cut formula. I think you have to be on a contending team late. Let's be honest, you kind of have to be a quarterback unless you're just freakishly talented. I think you have to have gaudy stats. I think you have to be up like in the top 10 of most, passing categories. So I think that whittles it down. I think you kind of have to play at a brand, like a team, like the group of five you're not going to happen in a group of five. So I think there's some criteria that you have to meet. That being said, do you want me to just rattle off the list and tell you who I think has a legit chance?
Yeah. Let's,
and
this is where we draw because there's a line that we're going to draw at some point where you're like, all right, like that's,
what I never thought we'd see is a back-to-back. And I know he hasn't gotten to like the meat of the schedule, because there's only one way to go when you're the favorite. And then when you're trying to go back-to-back as the favorite, the first time you stumble, they're going to ding you. Like, it's almost impossible to come back from. I still kind of don't think we see it, but man, Caleb Williams is special. I mean, he's the number 1 overall pick. I thought there was going to be a debate between him and Drake May. I don't think there's going to be one for the number 1 overall pick. He's really starting to separate, but I still think he can win it. So I would put him in there for sure, although I don't think he would. Quinn Ewers, the game he just had, the year he has, Texas, they're right there. Jordan Travis, again, I think it helps, Florida State being back on the national stage. He's got the talent around him. He can, put up massive stats. Sam Hartman, I think, is a realistic one. Notre Dame QB, are you kidding me? And, for what he's brought to that team so far, big game stage, he's going to have one in a couple weeks. Like, he's got the opportunity. Michael Penix Jr., yeah, I think he can do it. I mean, he had a incredible year last year. If they win the Pac-12, I think they could even be a 10-2 Pac-12.
And if they win the Pac-12, Danny, it's going to be on his arm. So it's going to be on like a 4,500-yard, 40 touchdown type season.
Yeah. So we got him. Everybody's in agreement there. JJ McCarthy needs to pick it up stat-wise, so that he can get. But
they're playing it like an Air Force tempo. Right. Have you noticed this? Like, Michigan does not give a damn about these games. Now this may change Saturday. I don't know, but like
his efficiency is pretty excellent, though.
No doubt.
First,
but like,
right? Isn't he number 1? I think he's leading the country in efficiency.
I don't think these games are fixed, but it's like they have a handshake agreement with the opponent. It's like, all right, we're gonna go crazy slow. You go crazy slow. Minimize the snaps. Minimize the opportunities for anybody to get hurt. Let's get out of here. Let's have a nice rest of the day. It's like they don't care in terms of getting reps in games. Clearly, they care to win the game.
They have looked like scrimmages, yes.
Dude, these are unserious games.
You guys give some. I have more, but I don't want to hog the whole conversation.
I will say, going back to the Caleb Williams thing, I think he can win it 2 years in a row if he keeps playing this way, because last year they didn't win the Pac-12 and they didn't get to the playoff. If they do that, I think those are some kind of boosts of like, you improved on last season. But also, statistically, he's got 13 total touchdowns through 3 games. Do you know how many snaps he's played in the second half of games?
Oh, snaps? I don't know. I know he hasn't
Probably
played a fourth
25.
quarter yet, right?
30. He's played 30 snaps in the second half. He's only played 6 snaps in the fourth quarter this season.
Okay.
So imagine if USC was leaving him in for the full 4 quarters. Now, clearly, if they wanted to, they would, and they could push him to win the Heisman. But I don't think that's at the top of their priority list. So, yeah. Other than that, names you haven't mentioned, I mean, did you say Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, he said Quinn second, and it was like, that's the one where you're starting to present it. And there's something to
Bo Nix. Oh,
Caleb,
sorry.
Caleb jumps up to the picture in November, sort of for an absence of other obvious picks. I mean, there's the way that we can look at them all individually, but then very tough to forecast here on September 13th. What's everybody else doing? Like, that's where Michael Penix, to me, if you want to get off of that tier and start to get to 10-1 or more on the Heisman odds board, that's the one where Caleb has a little bit of a slip up. Texas takes a ridiculous loss somewhere late in the season, and just Penix has just been steady, like 400 yards a game, 400 yards a game, 400 yards a game. And all of a sudden he builds up this profile where, like you mentioned, they're 10-2. Maybe they're just playing for the Pac-12 title, but he's just been rock solid. There's nothing really that you can single-handedly circle on him. Penix has a high Heisman ceiling based on the numbers. J.J. McCarthy and Sam Hartman, that's he's the leader of an old power. He's getting it done for the team. Even though Audric Estime would like a word, the Notre Dame defense would like a word, Blake Corum would like a word, and there's a lot around them. But I think that like a J.J. McCarthy proposition, I think that the Sam Hartman proposition are based on team success. I think Michael Penix has that individual success type advantage that Hartman and McCarthy probably don't have.
You know who might be worth a long shot bet right now? He just finally got named the starter yesterday.
Yes, I'm glad
Kyle
you went there.
McCord.
Yeah.
Would you rather have, if you had a ticket, would you rather have him or Carson Beck?
Kyle McCord.
Ooh. I don't know. I think it's a little shaky still. I think he could struggle.
But Kyle McCord
And
has like Marvin
schedule's
Harrison and Emeka Egbuka to throw to. Carson Beck doesn't have those guys. And Georgia is going to be Georgia. Like, I just don't think he's going to put up crazy numbers, especially with Mike Bobo calling the plays. I mean, McCord could finish the year with 45 touchdowns still. Like, Ohio State's in that same similar situation with Michigan, where I don't feel like they've really gotten going yet.
I'd rather have Drew Aller than Kyle McCord.
I that's a reasonable stance. I don't know if I don't agree with it, but it's a reasonable one.
There's also the impact, I think, like the story of bringing Penn State to another level plays really well. You know, like if you're Kyle McCord, you got to really, really shine, or else people are like, you're throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr. and you're throwing, you got all these weapons that you're working with. What did you guys say? I missed Shedeur or Travis Hunter? If you were going to take one, who would you take? You would take Shedeur over. I would take Travis Hunter, I think.
I would take Travis Hunter.
I would take Travis, yeah.
Because
to
win, to get to New York, I think Shedeur can get to New York, and I think Colorado will keep him throwing. But I think here's the problem with the Shedeur Heisman talk, and he's been much better than I think any of us on the show thought he'd be, and I think a lot of us thought he could be good. If you're telling me that Colorado is deep into the season in the playoff conversation, they're going to have to pull upsets at Oregon, host USC. Now, Arizona State looks like they're just maybe a dead team walking because of the injuries, but whatever. Stanford, they'll beat. Then you get a bye week. Then at UCLA, okay, Oregon State, Arizona, at Washington State, at Utah. I mean, they're going to be underdogs, guys, in like 6 more games this season, maybe 7. If you're going to pull these massive upsets, I mean, obviously Shedeur has to keep playing well, but you're going to have some vote stealing stuff from Travis Hunter because Hunter's going to have to make special plays. TCU scored 42 with 2 end zone interceptions on them. Like, other teams will score 60 on Colorado. To win these games, you're going to have Travis Hunter probably making special plays, like turnover type stuff on defense, and get the two-way thing, which means he's going to steal votes from Shedeur. So either they don't make the playoff, or obviously they're not going to make the playoff. Either they don't contend for the playoff, which means I think in that scenario, Shedeur could get invited to New York because he's going to have the crazy numbers, right? And like last week, they were trying to get him numbers. It looks like they were throwing up big super late, and he took some shots. It's sort of like it's a catch-22. If they're actually somehow in contention, which I very much doubt, Hunter's going to vote steal. If they're not, I think Shedeur can get to New York, but he clearly can't win it on like a 7-5 type team.
They're 8-4. What's the worst they could go? Yeah, I think they got to go 9-3. I don't think they do. I think either one is a waste of your money.
No doubt. Yeah, it's especially at these prices because like they're getting so much media love. You're getting so much, kind of amateur money in the market.
Like that does help a ton. I mean, it's such a shallow, casual voter type of ward that the more they're on, and the fact that game day's going to the Colorado State game. I mean, their numbers were off the charts. Their numbers were the same as Alabama, Texas. Did you see that for the ratings? The same amount of people.
Well, but that's an ESPN game versus a network game.
Yes, and ESPN got dinged because the whole
like Florida State LSU was way bigger than Texas.
Not that much bigger. That was like 9.2, and they had
but it was. But the Spectrum outage
Yeah. That's what I think is
with
throwing
that.
off some of these numbers.
We got to
But
compare
even-
ESPN games to ESPN games because the network games are always going to smoke them.
But the brand of Dion, I mean, how many other coaches at halftime of the first game we've even seen these players would mention the Heisman Trophy?
Yeah, exactly.
None. But it does help. And all of a sudden it plants that seed. So there's
8-4 or better, and an absence of some combination of Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, the West Coast. Don't forget, these are votes that are split geographically. Like Tom and I have votes that are considered the national votes, but then there are South votes, there are West Coast votes, Southwest votes. And I apologize to Chris Houston if I just didn't list them correctly. I'm sure he'll come yell at me. But
I'm a voter. I don't even know what I think I'm national.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, like being at CBS, I would assume that's what it is. But if there is an absence of those other West Coast quarterbacks, because you've only got 3 spots on the ballot, if Caleb Williams is up there and Bo Nix and Michael Penix, then yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher for either one of them. But I'm saying if those other quarterbacks fall apart, and they're 8-4 and better, and somebody's just rolling up to fill out a ballot, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Dion's son." And that is unfair to Shador a lot of times, but when it comes to Heisman voting, like I think that's going to be an advantage.
And the story is great. I mean, if they go from 1 to 8, 7-game turnaround, I still think it's 9, but 8 wouldn't be hard to believe.
The other reason why 8-4 doesn't work is because 8-4 means you lost to 2 other Heisman candidates in conference.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Can Dion get Heisman votes?
Did Dion?
Can he? Like, do you think Dion will get any Heisman votes?
Yes, I think he'll get some write-ins. I think he will. Why not? The first one ever.
I've never we didn't mention Bo Nix. Nobody's mentioned it.
He can, absolutely. I wouldn't pick him, but he absolutely can. He should be on the conversation.
What about the kid who threw 5 touchdowns against Texas A&M on Saturday? Plays for a big brand, a team that gets a lot of attention when it's playing well.
Definitely. He should be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Some
what
commenters
about the kid he lost to?
If they bounce back, yes. But that's one of those games where it's going to get looked at and be like, well, you lost this game. But the commenters have mentioned quite a bit, which I think is a legit from a player perspective, but one of the things from the other angles of this that hurts him, Will Howard at Kansas State. Will Howard can have a great season at Kansas State. The fact is, unless he has like an incredible, remarkable record-setting season, it's hard to think the Kansas State QB is going to win the Heisman no matter what.
And with those receivers, he won't.
Same thing with Riley Leonard. You know, like I saw somebody propose to him. He's a great quarterback. They're going to make their hay in the NFL, but they're not Heisman candidates.
What if?
Do you think Kansas State receivers are like bad?
I just don't think they're special enough to really get him on the radar like that.
To separate him, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. None of us have said the name that I was just on the soapbox for last year.
Marvin Harrison.
No, he could win. Drake May.
Oh no, yeah,
he's having a mid-season so far.
Very mid.
They're running the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And you haven't had Tez Walker. You didn't have Nate McCollum, and Kobe Paysauer and JJ Jones are fine, and the tight ends are good, but it's a different offense right now, and maybe an offense that the changes are going to make it better for North Carolina later in the season. But let's see, what do we have so far? 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions through 2 games.
Yeah.
Mid.
Yeah.
I left him in the QB power rankings this week because he's that good, but it's just he's hanging on by a thread at this point. He needs to put up some numbers soon.
I read that column this morning, and I'm glad to see that you didn't bow to any kind of pressure. Like none of the top 10 from the SEC, none of the next 5 from the SEC.
Nope. There was like when I was sitting down.
Top 10. Their quarterbacks are not elite in the SEC.
Yeah. I saw Peter Burns arguing this morning. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of respect for Peter, but like, bro, if we think there's 15 quarterbacks better, look like he was arguing that Bama's secondary was the problem against Texas. Like it was not. No. Bama's secondary forced Texas, who has a really, really talented quarterback, to make really tough plays. Quarterback lost the game for Alabama, and how they utilized that quarterback, right? Because they probably misjudged his skill set, I would think. if you don't have a top 15 quarterback in the country in your league, and that might be aggressive, it might just be top 10, but I'm pretty damn sure there's 10 quarterbacks that are
I would say top
way
20.
better than what the SEC has.
Mhm.
Sure. Then that is a problem. I don't want to rehash
here's-
Monday's show, but
Here's one for Chip. This is for you. This is a wouldn't it be hilarious?
Wouldn't it be
Heisman
hilarious?
finalist.
Heisman finalist. All right.
What if we get to New York and that cold, what is it, December night, and Clemson's Cade Klubnik isn't there, but Oregon State's DJ Uiagalelei is?
Oh,
It would be
man.
amazing. It would amaze me on so many levels.
I will say I would not bet Klubnik now. But the last 3 quarters of that FCS game, it did look like it started to click more for him. So there is some chance that they go off. They're playing faster. Like he'll have an opportunity for numbers. He will score a lot of points this year. If they upset Florida State, like the time to bet Klubnik for the Heisman will have been too late.
Oh, you mean win?
If they win the game. Yeah,
By the way,
exactly.
Klubnik and DJU have the exact same Heisman odds right now at 40-1.
That's beautiful.
I would rather have Klubnik at 40
Oh, hey, let's
than
do this.
DJ.
Okay, right now,
I did not
40 to
want
1, DJU or Cade Klubnik. Go. Who would you rather have?
Cade.
Klubnik.
Yeah. Brand, powerhouse.
Oregon State doesn't throw the ball very much.
contender.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true too.
Yeah, DJ's in the same situation as Will Howard. It's like he's in that kind of offense and he's playing for a school that's just not going to get the national attention.
Question from the chat: has a grad transfer ever won the Heisman Trophy?
Yeah. There's been like 4 of them.
Really?
A grad transfer?
Oh, a grad transfer? I was going to say, Burrow transferred. Didn't he a grad transfer?
Jalen Hurts was a grad transfer, wasn't he?
Yeah, there were a
What do you-
bunch.
Burrow was a grad transfer?
I
don't
think
know.
so.
Burrow wasn't a grad.
Oh, he
Burrow was
sat
still
out?
an undergraduate when he transferred.
He did
But
not.
Jalen
I
Hurts.
think he was a grad transfer.
Ooh.
Yeah,
2
so
years
Burrow
of
was a grad.
eligibility as a
Burrow was
graduate
a grad? Okay.
Yeah.
because he played all of 2018 and was
But he
pretty good.
redshirted.
And then 2019 obviously lit the world on fire. Yeah, I think so. I think Joe Burrow,
Burrow
based
played
on
2
his-
years, didn't he?
Yeah, he played 18 and 19.
Well, how
But
did
he
he have 2 years of
redshirted and sat out
eligibility if he
too,
was still
didn't
a
he?
grad transfer?
Well, you'd have eligibility left. If you redshirted, which I think he did, stayed 2 years, so you're 3 years at Ohio State. That's
Yeah,
enough to graduate. Guys
He
who
definitely
graduate.
graduated Ohio State.
This is pre-COVID. That's the thing. The eligibility rules are just completely. People are playing for like 20 years now. It's hard to.
Senior? Yeah.
There's one other name that we haven't mentioned. But I mean, he fits the criteria. Dylan Gabriel.
He won't be the starter by the end of the year.
Yeah, I
They've been
no, I
playing Arnold a lot too. Like
I think
Yeah,
Arnold's going to take over.
situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man.
Remember,
Dylan
Bud
Gabriel.
and I have been like hardcore on this since the very first game.
Since Arkansas State.
Yes.
You're like, did Dylan Gabriel? It's a phenomenal September opinion. Has Dylan Gabriel ruined his shot to finish the season as the starting quarterback by scoring too many touchdowns in the first half?
Yes.
The galaxy on that is amazing.